Okay, so I think go ahead and get started, Commission. So I'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 for the Lewis Data Planning and Zoning Commission for our regularly scheduled June 25th meeting. So number 2 on our agenda is citizens' comments. So this is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to address the commission about matters not related to a public hearing that we have on the schedule tonight. So does anybody have anything? Doesn't look like we have anybody stepping up to the podium. Emails, phone calls, nothing. All right, well, that makes number 2 pretty easy. Number 3 on our agenda is approval of the June 11, 2025 meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look those over? I did notice a couple typos on them. And to be fair, one of them is my last name, so my last name is hard to spell, so I will just, so on page 6, it's paragraph 3, you spelled my last name with an A instead of an O.
Oh, I did.
And then the only other thing I noticed was then on page 7 for the staff commission communications, it was query of commissioners for the June 28, 2025 meeting minutes.
The 25th.
It should be the 25th, yes, yeah. Other than that, they looked good. The commission, with those amendments or those changes, are we good to approve the meeting minutes? Perfect. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the June 11th meeting minutes with those corrections.
Perfect. I will second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Need to abstain. I didn't watch the video, so I can't compare them to the.
All right, so number 4 on our agenda is review and approval of the reason statement for the conditional use permit application CUP 25-2 by Cammie Huntley of Sand Castle Kids. So did everybody get a chance to look over that reason statement? I did. I thought it was excellent as always.
I would make a motion to approve the reason statement as written for CUP 25-2.
And I will second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right, so number 5 on our agenda is a public hearing and deliberation and direction to staff regarding the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for ZNC 25-1, a zone change application by Steve Carlton. So before we get started on the public hearing, I'll just discuss how the public hearing process is supposed to work. So I will open the public hearing. We will hear staff presentation on the public hearing. After the staff presentation and any questions that commissioners have, we will listen from the applicant if there is any testimony that the applicant wants to provide. Again, commissioners can ask questions. After the applicant has provided testimony, we will take testimony from the public. If there is any, commissioners can ask questions of the public as well. And then once that is done, if there's anything that the applicant feels they need to discuss or rebut, they have the opportunity to provide additional testimony. And then after any additional questions from the commissioners, we will close the public hearing and then we will deliberate and discuss the relevant criteria and standards. So with that.
And I am going to recuse myself. My employer had previously looked at this property for leasing. So I will sit in the audience.
Perfect. Good. Well, with that, I will open the public hearing. All right, so take it away, Katie.
Good evening, Commission. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. Tonight, we are looking at a zone change application called ZNC 25-1. This is an application proposing to rezone a parcel from community commercial C3 and agricultural transitional zone. It is a split zoned property to general commercial C4 zone. So like usual, we're gonna look at some maps and some photos. So our subject property is located at 805 Stewart Avenue, which is at the intersection of Stewart Avenue and Thane Road. Property is approximately 7.24 acres and contains the former KRLC/Y105 radio station. So this is our subject property, and you can see a majority of the parcel is also vacant land. So radio station's up here in the corner, and then a bunch of vacant land. Like I said in the title, the property is a split zoned property with a portion of it currently being C3, which is this kind of square right here. And then the rest being the F2, which I've outlined here. See F2 here. Surrounding properties are a mix of zones. So this yellow area is all a planned unit development, Oak Valley Green. This green area over here is R2A, this green area over here also R2A, and then this blue area going up the Thane Road corridor is also that C3 zone. Then looking at the subject property from our comprehensive plan future land use map, it is this dark red color here, which is the community commercial designation. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then looking at some pictures of the site itself. So this is the building and its adjacent parking lot. Like I said, it is a former radio station. They have vacated the property and is no longer being used for that purpose. And then this is the adjacent parking lot for that building. It is up in that top corner, most southern corner of the property. And then looking at the property from the sidewalk at the intersection, you can see they're installing a pole sign. Again, this is the building. And you can see some storage containers and other things as they're doing cleanup of the property in the background. Then we're gonna do some pivots. So across the street is the North 40 and Zions Bank. This is east across Thane Grade. So you can see Zions Bank right here. North 40 is back here. Pivoting again, we have Hopper's Pizza and O'Reilly Auto Parts. This looks southeast across the Thane Road, Stewart Avenue intersection. And then pivoting again, this is to the south across just Stewart Avenue. There is a mall over here. It has Man Mortgage, the USDA Service Center, Anytime Fitness located in it. And then one final pivot, this looks over to that R2A section that abuts it on the southern part of Stewart. So you can see single family dwellings in this direction. Stewart Ave does dead end about 250 feet from the western edge of the property line of the subject property. I'll show you that again on the map. And then looking from kind of the end of where the sidewalk is, just forward, this is that intersection at Thane and Stewart, and just that roadway. So I'm standing about where 8th comes into the road. And then some photos just of that vacant portion. So you can see the existing building over here in this corner. I'm kind of just looking across the field. Here's the old radio tower. And then pivoting a little bit, again, more of that vacant property on the western side of the subject parcel. Back up here. Got a map, look at some of the stuff as I talk about different things. So the request is to go from the dual zoned C3 and F2 to our C4 zone, which is a different zoning designation than the rest of that Thane Road corridor that it connects to. A majority of the uses between the two zones are very similar. The C4 does allow for that multifamily on the second story by right in the zone, and does allow through the CUP process multifamily on the ground floor. So it does allow for that residential component in a couple different manners if the applicant so chooses to build out in that direction. Then moving down to our comprehensive plan, as you can see, the subject property is in our community commercial area, which is appropriate for mixed commercial and residential uses. And that residential uses are called out specifically in that designation as being located above or behind the commercial uses. And the general C4 would allow for that criteria to be met, where the current C3 and F2 zones do not allow for that criteria to be met. F2 is our transitional agricultural zone. So it has a 5-acre minimum for a single family dwelling. The C3 does not allow for multifamily uses either by right or through the CUP process. Stewart Ave in front of our subject property, we'll do a little scrolling down here, is designated as a collector street. Stewart turns into a local road as it goes west where it dead ends. And then does continue on, but is an unimproved right of way the farther west that you go, and does kind of go into a ravine eventually. Subject property also sits at the intersection of Stewart Ave and Thane Green, like I've shown. Thane Grade is designated as an arterial street. Comprehensive plan identifies the community commercial areas should be located adjacent to major roadways, such as collector or arterial roadways. And the subject property's location next to Thane Grade does conform to that criteria also. Subject property is adjacent to our east route, bus route, which travels northbound on Thane and turns east at Thane Grade and Stewart Avenue. And there is a bus stop across Thane at the Rock and Roll Realty site on the other block. In our comprehensive plan for the community commercial designation, primary uses in that designation include things such as retail and restaurant, personal services, office, commercial entertainment, flex office and warehouse, and then supporting uses are things such as open space and recreation, residential attached, residential multi-unit, mixed use, industrial storage units, transportation, and utilities and institutions. The C4 zone allows for things such as auto, boat, manufactured home, recreational vehicle, and heavy equipment sales and service, business and professional offices, commercial entertainment facilities, daycare centers, eating and drinking establishments, financial institutions, greenhouses and nurseries, laundries or dry cleaners, mini storage, mortuaries, hotels and motels, multifamily residential uses that are not on the ground floor of the building, like I mentioned earlier, personal services, preschools, public or governmental offices, and then retail sales and service. Comments from, so as usual, we solicit comments from other departments and outside agencies. So the fire department only commented on commercial hydrant spacing, which is 300 feet per between hydrants. So depending on if the commission approves the rezone and then council subsequently approves the rezone, when the applicant comes in for subdivision, that would be something that the fire department would look at that point as part of the subdivision. And then the engineering division of public works provided no comments on the zone change. They didn't have anything to say on the zone change. And with that, I would stand.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm assuming at this time as we're eyeballing future land use, which is the entire point of the zone change. We don't at this time have any idea or weigh in on the intended development.
So the
But-
uses that would be allowed in that C4 would
Yeah.
be what could be allowed for intended development.
So, the idea of Stewart and the dead end and the continuation of stuff that can't be factored in right now in our considerations. Like the load, the
No,
traffic.
because I mean, you don't know what,
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
that would be something that normally comes up when the subdivision is done.
Mhm.
Because then they're gonna look at like number of lots being created, is another road being created, those sorts of things, and then
And
further in that process, so we change the use of the land, right?
Mhm.
That's our base. Then a subdivision divides the land, that's next. You guys would see that eventually when it comes through. And then when building permits come in for the actual building of something to use the land,
Mhm.
that's not your guys' purview, but then those different city departments weigh in on, especially engineering, things like traffic. Fire looks at hydrant spacing, access, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? I don't have any questions at this time, so. The applicant has an opportunity to discuss if you want. You don't have to. There's no
My
requirement.
maps, or can I turn my show off?
You can just state your name and city of residence.
Steve Carlson, Lewiston, Idaho. We bought this property, I don't know, a little over a year ago. The owners approached me, they had it in their family for 50+ years. I think it's only been owned by 2 or 3 different people in its lifetime. I've, like I said, I've known them for 50 years, so they knew I was gonna do something with it that was gonna work for that area. And the building, we were gonna put an engineering firm in there. Building was built in 1940s, part of it. Once we got in there and started looking at remodeling it, it was tear the building down and build it brand new for less. So cost wise, it made more sense to start over, and being zoned the way it was, it's only the little corner that's zoned C4. So, kind of changed the whole plans. We were going forward with that but with the cost to do that, it was just, it wasn't gonna work for them or us either. So, rezone it. Our intentions maybe make residential around the outside edge, commercial. I've had quite a few people interested, but can't do anything with it the way it is. You could build something on the corner, but that isn't gonna pay the bills. So you gotta, there's been some pretty good interest in it if we did it right. And I think it'd be a really nice development there, that would be pretty nice addition to the community. So I can't at this time say who those people are, but I mean, it's, I've been doing this for years and we haven't screwed up yet, so.
Always the first time.
That's always.
Always the first time.
I'll send you back tonight to screw up. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Nice. Commissioners, any questions? Oh, I should say, I should also open it up for any testimony from the public, so. Anybody here wish to speak? No, all right. Don, anything emailed, called, mailed in, emailed in? No? Okay, well, commissioners, with that, if there are no remaining questions, we'll close the public hearing. All right. All right, we will now deliberate and discuss the relevant criteria and standards, identify relevant facts and information, and articulate detailed reasons for our proposed decision. I'm going to pull up my cheat sheet here. One second, scroll down there. Okay, here we go. All right, our relevant criteria and standards. So number one, as our criteria, the proposed rezone is or is not in general conformance with Lewiston Comprehensive Plan. So Emily, I'll let you take this one. We can do a round table.
Say it is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. In the staff report, there is reference to LU1, LU 1.1, 1.3, and then ED1. So, and then further, just from as much as we've talked about in the work planning committee with offering those transitional zones in certain areas, that is one area that I don't think we ever actually talked about it, but it would.
It is a nice area
Yeah.
for something
it
low
would
impact.
make sense for it to go to a C4.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so number two. The subject property is or is not at least as well suited or is better suited for the proposed zoning district than the existing zoning district. Cynthia, I'll let you take this one.
I would agree if development in the existing zones, were possible and, and valued for both the use of the land and the developer, then that would make sense. But C4 opens it up a little bit more to a wider variety and a broader scope. So.
Agree. I think for low impact uses, C4 is a better fit than what it is now.
Is there anything that was presented to you today that helps support that decision?
I would say what can fit into a C4. I know Katie recited off the list, which I will not recite, but or a number of low impact uses. I am actually looking through right now.
As well as maybe
There's-
the applicant's
I was gonna
testimony?
say, there is an app in the applicant's packet or information provided. It states that F2 is limited outright use, where C4 aligns with surrounding developments and integrates into the city comprehensive plan. As number 2 on the applicant's information.
If I may,
page
there was
24 of the packet.
There was also the point that in the existing F2, a single residence would require a 5-acre lot, which is the vast majority of the
Of
lands
the
available.
yeah.
Yes.
And C4 allows multi and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so number 3, as I scroll back down there. Number 3, the proposed rezone does or does not present foreseen mitigable impacts of incompatible use or development being located in the same vicinity. So I will say that it does not. We didn't hear any testimony that it would. The rezone actually makes it fit the area better and in the vicinity. And honestly, we don't know exactly what's going to be put there, but rezoning it doesn't present any immediate impacts for impact use or for incompatible uses or development. So.
Also allows the opportunity for smaller lots or subdividing.
I could be wrong, but I think ag transition still allows for livestock or no? Yes. Yes, which we're finding out that more it abuts individual family residents, there's usually a lot more less in crisis. Depending on the level of housing. So. Better suited.
All right, number 4, the effects of the proposed rezone are or are not anticipated to place undue burden upon delivery of services provided by any political subjects or any political subdivisions within the planning jurisdiction, including school districts.
There was no comment, so I'm gonna say it's not going to place undue burden just because of the lack of comment, and as Katie mentioned, once it's subdivided, it would go through that process. There would be additional studies on traffic impacts, traffic studies, all of that.
And in the multifamily, we have a major arterial supporting and then the bus stop on the other side, so there are many of those things already in place that would not be heavily impacted, but in fact benefit Yeah.
Number 5, the size, type, intensity, and density of development expected to occur on the subject property as a result of this rezoning is or is not suitable for the area and will or will not unduly burden the neighborhood, public infrastructure, or environmental resources.
Without knowing the future, and Mr. Carlton did express some commercial potentially ringed by it's hard to say,
Mhm.
but it doesn't sound like with the stated intent that it would.
I do agree, without knowing exactly what's going to be there, it makes it hard to say it will be or will not be suitable for the area. So, I mean, this is a simple rezone, and so, you know, if what's put in there is something that has an undue burden on the area, we will discuss that and look at that when that is presented to us.
We have to assume based on what Mr. Carlton said that it won't. But this,
We're looking at a uses permitted outright in a C4.
Hmm.
But none of those would,
It'll fit within a C4.
We're going with is and will not.
Oh, yes, it
Yes.
is and will not, excuse me.
way to track.
Want to make sure. I'm all-
And then number 6, the proposed rezone is or is not in conformance with Idaho Code 67-6537, use of service and groundwater. And I will just say that I don't think this is applicable to this application, so I think so it is in conformance, I will say.
Maybe no testimony was received indicating otherwise.
Yes, yes, that no testimony was received indicating otherwise.
Nothing's been bed.
Yes, yes. What that may have happened.
sometimes the lack of testimony.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, that may be, in that answer. All right, so we've gone through the relevant criteria and standards commission. So with that, I will take a motion to direct staff to draft a reason statement
In approval?
in approval, denial of amendments.
I will so move staff draft a reason statement in support of this rezone application.
I will second.
Perfect. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Perfect. Motion carries. So staff will draft a reason statement on CUP 25-2. Approve it for approval. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I said Z and I said 25-2 and then 25-1.
Yes.
Katie's tracking, even if I'm not. All right, commission, next up on our agenda, we do have another public hearing. So this public hearing is regarding deliberation. Thank you. So this is public hearing is regarding deliberation and direction to staff regarding the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for conditional use permit CUP 25-3 by Matt and Sarah Warren. So public hearing process will be the same as before. So we'll open up the presentation of staff. Staff will present, the commission will ask questions if we have any. The applicant will have a chance to present testimony. Commissioners can ask questions of the applicant. After that, we'll open it up to the public. And after that, the applicant will get a chance to respond if they feel they need to. Again, commissioners can ask questions. And then we will close the public hearing, deliberate.
Go to the file.
So with that, I'll open up the public hearing and get started.
There we go. Okay. Good evening, Commission. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. This application is CUP 25-3. This is for multifamily residential when located on the ground floor of a structure in the general commercial C4 zoning district. Okay, So like usual, we are going to look at some photos and some maps. So our subject property is located at 1314 G Street in downtown Lewiston. The outline is red right here. It was previously an office building with an insurance agency in it, has a seating area in the front that you can see right here. Surrounding uses are a mix of commercial and residential with office buildings across the street, and we'll see some photos of that. And then single family dwellings adjacent on this east side. And there's also kind of some pocket, single family on the back side to the south of the property. And then more office buildings and it's mixed. So then with our zoning layer on, subject property, like I said, is located in our general commercial C4 zone, as are the surrounding properties. That's all of this yellow area. There is about a block to the southeast, a section of higher density residential R4 zone. That's this red zone down here. But as you can see, pretty much everything surrounding it is that C4. And then map with our comprehensive plan future land use layer on. So this green color is our neighborhood commercial designation. This blue color below is our commercial. This is neighborhood commercial. This is commercial residential. Sorry, they're really, really similar and my brain can't keep them straight sometimes. And then over here is our downtown and that stops at 13th. And then some photos of the property itself. So subject property, like I said, was previously an insurance office. It was then sold by those owners and converted into a duplex without permits. Our applicant bought the property as a duplex and then found out that it was not a duplex. And so is seeking to rectify that unpermitted use by adding a third unit so that it would fall under that multifamily residential designation. So this is we're gonna call her a duplex right now. This is our proposed duplex. This detached accessory, so they have a detached garage in the back that's not being used. They would be proposing to turn that into a studio apartment to get the third unit that pushes them into that multifamily residential, okay? So everybody is on the same page with us. And then just a picture of the backyard. They have a little backyard. So then looking at our surrounding neighborhood, like I said, mixed use. So we have commercial and residential kind of combined. So this is across the street. And this is a law office on the corner of 13th and G. You can see the new courthouse in the background back here. So we're a parcel over from that 13th G Street intersection. And then directly in front of the subject property is an office building. So this is looking north on G Street. Pivoting further, we have a little doctor's office, a retail store, and then down here is the new Lewiston Transit bus shelter. So the property is located on the east route of the transit system's bus routes. So only a block away to get to that bus stop. And then just pivoting around, pivot. You can see single family dwellings over here. So these are the two homes that are immediately east of the subject property. And then Bill's Heating and Air is down here on the corner of G Street and Lincoln Street. And then looking in the other direction, so this is that intersection of G Street and 13th. And you can see fire station number 1 is located right there. And then fire admin's over here. And then more, commercial going that way. There's the hospital cancer center over here. The property right next door is some sort of storage building. So that's kind of the lay of the land. So we'll go back up to our map and we'll talk about the stuff. Okay, so in the C4, under our conditional uses, it does allow for that multifamily residential on the ground floor of a structure. So multifamily means 3 or more. So by converting the detached garage to a third unit, that would push us into that designation. That was the idea we came up with. So there is parking in the front, as you can see. Spotty knows that we recently updated our parking code to require half of the parking that used to be required. So 6 would have been what was required for 3 units. So now 3 is what is required for 3 units. There is space for, I believe, 4 vehicles across here. And if they wanted to tandem, you could put one right here in this gravelled area that's right in front of where the little garage is. Comprehensive plan, like I said, is that neighborhood commercial areas provide low to mid-intensity commercial services, primary for surrounding residents. These areas also provide a transition to more intense commercial or industrial uses from smaller, intense and small scale residential areas. So multifamily would fit in well, being that kind of midpoint between a commercial use and like a single family, low density residential use. There is that higher density R4 zone that's a block away, where you do see smaller lots with single family duplex and some small multifamily buildings down there. So residential attached and residential multi-unit housing are both considered supporting uses in that neighborhood commercial zoning comprehensive plan land use designation. There are several items coming out of the comprehensive plan that would support this application. Specifically some land use ones, which is to accommodate future development and redevelopment, to optimize compatibility, to balance land uses, to provide housing choices through Lewiston, to diversify possible housing choices, ensuring that a variety of types, scale, and density of appropriate housing can be constructed throughout Lewiston. Promoting neighborhoods that can cater to residents of all incomes, ages, family structures, and cultures. Building additional housing types in a scale appropriate way that fits into existing neighborhoods. As you can see, this is a mixed use neighborhood. There's a duplex on the backside of the neighboring property. So this is a single family, but this is a duplex. So the scale would fit into the surrounding neighborhood that has small single families, duplexes, and smaller, like 3, 4, 5 unit, like houses that were converted into apartments. Sorry, I lost my place. Other items from comprehensive plan would be like to support partners to mitigate barriers to employee retention. We've heard a lot from places like Valley Vision, St. Joe's Regional Hospital, that their employees finding housing is a preventative measure. It's preventing them from being able to recruit, not just for higher paying positions, but also lower paying positions, because people just can't find housing. There's not a large empty rental market or even empty purchase market available for residential. This would also possibly improve housing affordability by increasing density. Another one I thought applied, even though this isn't necessarily a retail space, the commission has seen several applications in the last couple of months. And I think you will see more of people getting creative with their buildings. I think commercial spaces are not being leased, rented, or sold as frequently as residential spaces are. So I think that the commission will continue to see more and more property owners coming to them with different ideas of how to use their space. So ED 4.3 says re-envision underutilized retail spaces and accommodate a wider range of uses and activities to better meet changing market demands. We all know that housing is really tight in Lewiston, and the market demand is for additional housing, not necessarily, existing commercial. And like our previous applicant said, a lot of times the commercial structures do exist, but they don't exist in a manner that works for the use that someone is trying to put in there. Either remodeling is too expensive to do, or the space does not work for the need, etc. And so a lot of commercial businesses are looking to build rather than remodel. And then maximize efficient housing development, encourage denser housing types in areas with infrastructure capacity and transit access. Like I said before, we're a block away from the bus stop. We are on a transit route. This particular kind of housing might be best suited for, a college student, workforce housing, someone who might not necessarily have transportation and needs to use public transportation. And it being on that transit route is a bonus. So comments from other departments. Fire department stated residential use shall comply with applicable building and fire codes. So of course, that garage will have to be converted into living space. That requires a building permit. And that gets reviewed by the various departments that need to meet fire and building codes. And then Public Works said engineering does not object to the CUP request. Remodeling or new construction would follow our current city codes and standards, which may depend on the type and magnitude of the work required, like sidewalks, driveway ramp access to be made ADA compliant. But again, that falls under that building permit portion, and they review for those standards and needs, and they have like criteria that triggers different things. I think I have covered all of my highlights, so I would stand for questions.
Questions for Katie?
One question I do have, so since the property was converted to a duplex without permits, will that property then be required to go through?
Yes, so the way that this was discovered is the applicant was having some work done by a contractor. And when the contractor called for inspection, one of the inspectors came in and was like, hey, this isn't correct. And so that's when it was identified. So yes, as part of, they'll have to do the building permit, like I said, for the third unit. We would also need them to make sure everything else is separated the way it needs to be separated for the duplex to be safe and habitable. Right, that would come. If the use was approved, then the building permits would come next, and we would make sure that it meets all the applicable codes.
Was there a reason that it couldn't fit more into like since there are some abutting residential areas, that it couldn't fit into like a residential?
So unfortunately, because it had been used for about 40 years as an insurance office, it didn't qualify for the one that says residential uses established prior to a certain date, because it had been that commercial use for so long. This was the one, this was the circle hole I could try to fit the square peg into. This is the best idea I could come up with.
This is the way it fits.
Decorated. Yeah, no, we definitely looked at all the options in speaking to the applicant and speaking to the realtor, because they have been trying to sell the property as a commercial structure and haven't gotten any bites, and they can speak to that when they come up and talk to you. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, the property was converted to that insurance office sometime in the mid-80s and had been in that realm until about maybe 6-7 years ago. And then that insurance agency closed and the property was sold. And then the applicant purchased after that middle person did some work.
Let's just call it work.
Call it work, but we're gonna call it, did some work.
Other questions for Katie, commissioners? Well, thank you, Katie. We will take testimony from the applicant if you'd like to provide any.
You're Bracken for me.
We're harmless.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm I don't know what you call me, the person that gets the fun property. We had no clue. I just.
State your name
Who
and
I am.
address,
I'm
please.
Sarah Warren and,
Or city residents.
by no nine. Sorry.
I'm gonna do this so they can see you instead of.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Thanks. So I don't really know what to say, but I had no clue that any of this happened. Even the home loan that we got for the house was a home loan through the bank and title work and everything. So nothing ever came up that it wasn't that. The man did say that it was once a building, and he was a construction guy, so he owns his own company, so he knew that what he did, the work was great. It wasn't half done. It's one of the reasons we were so thought this was such a great deal, but we didn't know anything else. Like he redid the roof and the siding and the plumbing, and the bathrooms were done. And I mean, he did a great job. Everything looked really great. So, and since then we've used it, and the college kids have lived there. That's what's lived there, the golf kids at LC. So when they told me that we had to get him out of there, I was just like, some of these guys are from country. It was just such a shock. And so then I put it right on the market to try to get back into compliance, because honestly, I did not have a clue. I think I told her, I feel like I tattled on myself because, but I didn't know, I had no clue. So, anyway, so yeah, I really appreciate Katie. And Tammy Myers. I think maybe you guys might know her. She's really big, and they've been trying to figure out anything that we can do to try to fix this, even though I understand I guess I should have known better, but I don't know how. The other option, they said to get a lawyer, and I'm going, that's another 10,000 or more. So to go after the guy, and I'm going, So anyways, I'm a mother, obviously, and my husband and I bought the property because we moved and we don't have a retirement. So our thought was, hey, one day maybe this could help with that. It's not really dollar signs. We don't really have a ton of money. We probably have to do the work ourselves. So it's not like something that we, ignorance, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it, mistake.
A
So-
learning curve.
Yes, a huge learning curve. And so I've been really just trying to get everything right with you and whoever I can, as much as I can. And so that's why I'm here.
So when you purchased it, your intent was a rental, an
Yeah.
income property.
That's what it,
Mhm. And you expected in the transition and upgrade that it would continue to be a rental property in a duplex, and it was inhabited
yes,
with renters at the time.
yes.
So all three, so the plan is for all three of the units to be rented out and, okay.
To remain, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that it matters necessarily, but were they already rented prior to you purchasing?
Well, he lived in it.
Okay.
So the guy lived there that did all the work. And then he sold it because he was building himself another place. He was gonna keep it and rent it. That's what he told me. He built it to rent to the college kids. And so he even got my first people that rented it. He already had it all set up. Because I don't even know if I should tell you his name. I would keep that off the table, but he's a golfer. And so he knew all the college boys. He had it all set up and just gave me, it was like, oh. And they were good kids, because they come from decent families and they kept the place nice. I never had to, it's starting to look like crap now because I live obviously an hour away. I don't have time to get up here and keep the lawn smoke, but, I got it all chopped down, but anyways, I just feel bad because it's just sitting there too, and we have tried to sell it. I had one person come through and, they could convert the property, but they said that, like you said, right now, the price of anything for building is like $225 a square foot. And at that, it's not worth to do anything, but so it could just be a complete loss on the other side. And so I don't know, it's hard to, and nobody else, and even Tammy said, like you guys said, commercial properties are just not moving. I don't even have it, I had it listed, we dropped the price, we even made it as low as any commercial property at all. It's still nothing. So I'm just going, okay, what can we, that's what led us here. So we did really try to go in any direction that we could.
Appreciate your presentation.
Well, to help guide the question, does the commission have any questions related to the relevant criteria for the applicant in support of later deliberations? Since a lot of the testimony provided so far is not necessarily part of the relevant criteria. Questions?
I don't, but I will obviously
I feel like
open
I
up the
should.
floor.
I'm feeling that
I feel like
wishes we
there's
would-
an obvious question here.
Yes.
So I'm,
So what is how many rooms or like how many people could occupy?
So the top, they both have two bedrooms. And in the top, it has like another space that they're kid in. The bottom, this is another 2 bedrooms and it's fully functioning, like they both have their own washer and dryer and everything. So they, everything's right on there. The space that we're looking at would obviously just be like a little kitchenette area and a little bathroom. And I've already talked to like Summit that does the underground plumbing. And they said that they could do something like that, no problem. And it obviously needs to be done anyways. The building's so old that we've had sewer things and anyway, so it'd be an upgrade to the whole system anyway, which I don't know. And that's a question I have for you. How hard is it to do stuff like that? I don't know if I should ask you that. I don't know.
There might be more than.
That'll be building, yeah.
Yeah, our code.
I can send you contact information tomorrow.
Okay, but other than that, everything's just right there. So the little spaces would be, we've been looking at little, that can fit in that space. And you could do just like a little studio apartment would work. The fire department asked if we wanted to do an attachment, but that would be a lot more money.
Just out of curiosity, so parking is not a consideration because it certainly meets the criteria there. Do you have lists or interests of other renters prior to discovering you had to evict your current renters?
Yeah.
Do you have a waiting list or
Yes.
a list of interests?
I had it listed and I had to contact almost every single day for somebody to rent the property, family.
Mhm.
But I told them it's an office space, so
Mhm.
yes, there's quite a bit of people asking to rent the space, but I was like, I can't. So, yeah, there is a lot of people looking for housing. And I never charged a lot, I don't know if that matters, but I just think, I don't know how people can afford 15, 16, 2,000. I was always trying to be fair because it's always been fair with me. People have,
Well, the term affordable is relative, so.
really has a lot of flex.
It's a lot of variation,
true, but anyways,
so.
So you're trying to offer affordable housing
yes.
in not a slum.
Mixed use area.
Yeah,
Mixed use area, it's,
With ongoing interest,
Yes.
from residents in need or future residents.
Yes.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have anything in your rental agreement about nuisances, noise, generation, anything like that?
I think we had like a time, you have to stay within the time.
The
things.
city code or?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that was definitely in there because we had the residents next door and they've been really great with us. Like they've just been really good. The neighbors talk to us all the time and stuff. So yeah, I want to be respectful of the space. Sure.
I'm slightly unfamiliar, but when we speak of, creating houses or nuisances, is there on street, is there curb parking on that street? I'm trying to remember. I think there is.
I believe there is.
On it'd be the south side, so the same side of the house is the house, not across the street, which would be the community center
I
side.
believe there is, because I think there was someone parked on the other side, because I did not park in front of the house because I wanted to be able to take photos. But I believe one of the neighbors did have a vehicle in front of their house.
So I'm just thinking for overflow traffic or visitors traffic, it's not gonna be causing additional congestion.
Then there's already utilities there.
Yes.
So
Well, it's not going to the garage.
But it's on the property. itself.
Everything's
Can be
yeah.
extended.
So it would have to be, you would have to extend it into the garage.
The space. Yeah. And the water, there's like the grass right there. You just have to tap.
Trying to think of anything else.
Well, and they've got green space, so you have a
Yeah, there's
multifamily.
a Small
We like
yard.
green space.
How big is the garage? Was that in the?
It's 12 by 22. I do know that measuring.
Square footage is, everybody's got their.
Yeah.
calculator.
Like 264.
Yeah.
I believe.
Definitely just a studio. I mean, if we had to, yeah, it's just like, it would just be a little studio, single person, college student.
And that is to get it into conformance with the
Yes.
C.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's a multifamily, the definition is 3 or more units.
that allows the other 2 units to also be rented out as
Yeah,
well. Because
exactly.
right now it's vacant because
Yes.
it's
They
commercial
legally
space.
can't,
Yeah,
right.
they literally can't do anything until they
And then you also stated in the paperwork that if you can't convert the garage, then you would be looking to add
Yeah,
on
I mean,
somehow.
that's the plan, but the ad, if in fact we had to do that, we'd have to do a little something off the backside. I don't know. At this point, I'm hoping we don't have to do that, because the fire guy said that would cost a lot, because then we'd have to get like a firewall and fire system, and it would just make it crazy, which might not even be able to do at that point.
Well, as somebody who has rented before, the detached
Mhm.
would have appeal.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially if you're looking for college students or traveling nurses.
Yeah.
And even at St. Joe's.
I mean, it's basically a place, it would basically for that type of individual, it would just be a place to crash. I mean, if you're on the go, if you travel a lot, if you're a traveling nurse, whatever, what have you, it's just a place for you to stay at night. I mean, you're usually not there during the day, so it's, not necessarily like you're there 12 hours a day, so.
Hmm.
I can definitely see the appeal and need.
And it's providing one more resident.
One more
Yeah,
unit.
one more
yeah,
unit.
Yeah,
Does meet criteria.
or if you look at it another way, it's adding 3 units.
Yes, that's
I
true.
mean, technically 2 were taken
Legal.
away.
You're getting legal.
Yeah, technically we took 2 away, so it'd be.
We can offer.
So we're back to 3.
Separate resident.
Well, perfect.
Jennifer, does that?
That's better.
Satisfied then? All right, thank you. All
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
right, Dawn, was there any commentary from the public? No. All right, well, commissioners, this is our last last chance to ask questions before we close, so I don't see any, I see nodding heads, so with that, I will close the public hearing. All right, we will discuss relevant criterion standards and articulate detailed reasons for our proposed decision. So we'll just go through these like we did before. And I'll open these up. We don't have to do the round table. So number 1, the proposed use will or will not result in conditions that will tend to generate nuisances such as noise, dust, glare, vibrations, and odors, or if so, any anticipated nuisances will be appropriately mitigated.
I believe it will not create nuisances. It's served as a duplex for quite some time. It's Plenty of parking.
And even the addition of one wouldn't necessarily change that.
I mean, we're not talking about we're not talking about a high impact use.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, which I know can fit into other criteria here, but. They're not proposing tearing down the entire house and putting a new one. I mean. So.
Is there any information or testimony presented to you today to support that conclusion?
Well, she did state
Yeah.
that it would be in the rental agreement too, that it would abide by city code. So even if there were to be nuisances, it would be mitigated
Yes.
based on the proposed rental agreement. I'm gonna ask that for a reason.
All right, so it sounds like we have consensus on number 1. So number 2, the proposed use is or is not a public necessity or is not justified by the applicant and deemed to be a benefit to the public. So I think we sort of discussed this when the applicant was discussing, but I think the proposed use is easily a public necessity and is justified by the applicant to be a benefit to the public. I know Katie discussed some thoughts on it, from housing choices to density to creative ideas of using housing. We discussed the different types of individuals that might benefit from this housing. I know I used the term affordable a little loosey-goosey, but considering what housing prices are and the lack of availability, a duplex is definitely necessary. And again, it's a creative use of a space to provide housing choice.
which could then in turn drive down rental prices in the area as well with the increasing the density for the number.
I appreciate the eye towards the all income
Yeah.
aspect. And potential individuals that may not have a vehicle, but the access to public transport. So it's meeting those criteria for certain.
All right, so sounds like we are in agreement with number two. So number three, the character of the proposed use, if developed according to the plan as submitted, will or will not be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located.
Say that it would be in harmony with the areas. You have a mix, so you have residential on the side and close to the bus stop as well, so it just kind of fits.
The adjacent zone going east, I think a block or so away is the smaller 4 units, and so.
Yeah.
Ends right in.
And obviously it got passed as a duplex before.
Nobody completed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other testimony or information presented to you today in support of that?
Presentation, just talking about the different zone uses that we have.
Yeah, the different types of housing choice in that area, yeah. All right, number 4 then, the proposed use will or will not endanger the environment or the public health or safety.
For my question with Katie, I mean, was one thing, just making sure that also have to follow permits and get checked out.
In compliance with code, and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other testimony you might have received in support of that?
Testimony from the applicants, we didn't hear any testimony in opposition to it. But also what the applicant is proposing to do with the space as well. And go back to not ripping something down and building it back up.
And there was no opposition from public.
So sufficient parking.
All right, number 5, the proposed use will or will not be in substantial conformance with the comprehensive plan.
And Katie provided
Yeah, Katie.
of the goals and objectives
Yeah, yeah,
for the comprehensive.
yes, so I would refer to staff testimony on that one.
Should you adopt her
Yes.
information in the
Yeah,
staff report?
yes. I would say that the under goals, objectives and actions from the comprehensive plan that are applicable to this application are as follows. Adopting those items listed provide substantial testimony in favor of being in conformance with the comprehensive plan. All right, so number 6, pursuant to Idaho Code 67-6512, the conditional use permit may be granted subject to the ability of political subdivisions, including school districts, to provide services for the proposed use. We didn't hear anything in opposition or any worries from any applicable subdivision.
Yeah.
So,
There's already services going to the property.
yeah. And then number 7, the proposed rezone is or is not in conformance with Idaho Code 67-6537, use of service and groundwater. And again, we didn't hear any testimony in opposition to it or confirming that it's not in compliance. So I would say it is. All right, so that takes us through our relevant criteria and standards. So with that discussion, unless there's anything else, I will take a motion to direct staff to draft a reason statement approving, denying, modifying, conditional use permit 25-3.
Will motion to direct staff to draft the reason statement approving the UP 25-3.
Based on the testimony from the
Yeah.
commission.
And I would second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, so all in favor, say aye.
Alright,
Aye, none are opposed, motion carries. All right. All right, commission, that takes us through our active agenda, so item number 7, we have quite a few items on the agenda tonight. Is soliciting commissioners or staff commission communications. We all planning on being here for the July 9th meeting? Or is that no?
We're
Yeah,
having
but-
public hearings scheduled that night. We will list out the reason statements from tonight.
Thank you, guys. Sorry.
We do have public hearings scheduled for the second meeting in July, just FYI. Yeah, so next meeting should be a quick one with just the reason statements.
Perfect. All right. All right, it's everybody's favorite time. Item number 8, adjourn. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
I'll move it.
Oh,
no.
Cynthia moved it. Shay seconded it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
That was out of